Yes, good morning. Yay, we're back. Yay, we're back. And look, I'm all in one piece. And for all of you out there, before we go any further, I just would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you for all of you who did send your thoughts. We were inundated, your thoughts. And I'm saying thank you for Carolyn as well, because she had lots of people sending her prayers too. We are fine here on this little part of the West Coast. We are actually fine because the storm really barely touched us. We did have power outages. In fact, Carolyn still does not have power, and you can't believe that after all this time she still does not have power. Having said that, I have power. I did lose all the food in my freezer. That's the biggest thing that happened to me. I had huge palm fronds, as did many people in our neighborhood. We had huge palm fronds which just missed the roof, which meant no roof damage either. So thank you all for that. All right, so we are back. My apologies for being absent for a couple of weeks, but with the storm and with all sorts of other things going on, it was not possible for us. Anyway, all right, so standing next to me, I'm sorry, I'm so excited to be back. I've forgotten what we're doing. Where are we anyway? What are we doing? All right, standing next to me to my right side here, I have my spirit guide Grey Eagle, who has his hand on my shoulder, so he's ready and raring to go. Sitting to my far right, I have Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
She does it every time, right? Every time. All right, so we have Carolyn here, and we're ready and raring to go. We're going to be taking your questions. Before we take your questions, I just would like to give a shout out to my friend Mary Lou, because I was away during all of the storms. I was actually in New York with my daughter and my grandson. It was his first day at school, and I was not going to miss that, and I was very fortunate to be able to go with him to school for a week. He's only 4 years old, bless his little heart, and so I wanted to share in that. While I was away, unfortunately, along came the storms, and my friend Mary Lou, who always takes care of the puppy for me, she takes care of Cachorro, and she takes care of the house and so on. She really did have a work cut out, and I would very much like to say thank you to Mary Lou, who was really what good friends are all about. She came in, she took care of the puppy, she took care of the house, she moved things off the from the pool area. She went above and beyond what most people would actually think to do. So thank you. I owe you big time. And of course, my freezer is empty, which means, yes, you guessed it, it means I'm going to have to be cooking up a storm. The worst of this is my sister is coming from England to visit for a few months on Friday. And what I'd done, you see, this is how psychic I can really be. What I'd done was I'd made all these delicious foods and put them in the freezer. I'd made some skinny mini chicken pies and some fruit pies. I'd made potted beef. Most of you don't know what that is, but it's really delicious. I made so many different things, which I've now got to make all over again. but if that's the worst of it, I'm happy with that. So, all right, so I think what we're going to do this morning is we're going to start off with, those of you who've been watching my YouTubes will have heard me mention Dean. And is Dean on? Is he watching?
Yes.
Good morning, Dean. Yes, Dean, it is our 11th anniversary. And for those of you who don't know, I've mentioned Dean before. I've talked a little bit about Dean before. We're going to be talking a little bit more because Dean and I have known each other now for 11 years. 11 years ago, in what date? Do we have the date actually?
Oh, it was like the 9th or something.
Come on, Dean, type it in.
Yeah, what's the anniversary? Dean?
Yeah, come on, type it in. So 11 years, sometime around now, was the first time that Dean actually contacted me. His life was 13th. September 13th?
Yes.
September 13th. All right, so 11 years on the September the 13th. And for every single one of those 13 years, Dean has written to me. Usually it came in the form of a letter, but of course, since email and since all of this other stuff, he now sends me emails, which is also fine. But every single year on the anniversary, Dean would send me a letter telling me how much he had appreciated what I'd done for him. Now, the truth is, I really hadn't done a great deal, but many of the people in the spirit world through me had done a great deal for Dean. People are always asking, and maybe this should be the theme of our little session this morning. People are always asking, what is the point of coming to see someone like me? You know, what's the point? What can the dead do? You know, once they're dead and gone, how on earth can they possibly help us? In what way can they possibly help us? Well, they can help us with, in many ways, excuse me, they can help us with advice. They can help us, they can guide us in our lives. They can steer us to going on a right path rather than going on a wrong path. And many people out there who've had consultations with me will know how effective that advice can often be, and how effective that advice can often be in protecting us from other people, protecting us from legal situations, protecting us from relationships that perhaps shouldn't happen, protecting us in so many different ways, but also encouraging us and guiding us in the things that we need to do that are right for us and that are good for us and that are positive for us. And many people in the spirit world will encourage a person. For instance, I'm just thinking of my friend Malaya, who was advised very recently, work on your book. So she has a book to write, and that book is going to be something, I have to tell you, because this girl is really something. And so, often people get encouragement. They're encouraged to, in fact, I think Dean was encouraged to get out and about a bit more, if I remember, not so very long ago. So with Dean's permission, we do have his permission. We'd like to read the email that he sent on this anniversary, because it hopefully is going to show you and share with you all. And Dina, thank you very much for allowing us to do this, because, sort of bearing your heart a little bit on, in a public forum. But it might show some of you what the point may be for you or other people to connect with those in the spirit world, whether it's through me or whether it's with someone else. So I'm having Carolyn read it, because she can see better than I. She's younger than I am. And even with my glasses on, I probably would be stuttering and stumbling around. So, Carolyn, why don't you go ahead and read us Dean's email, which Dean, from my heart, thank you. All right.
Hi, Rosemary. Just wanted to say thank you for the 11th time for changing my life. I guess I have said all you did in the past years, but still feel like I should thank you once more. I know you won't get this until you are back from New York, but this is the day 11 years ago that I first talked to you. I know that you have helped me so many people, those that have really listened, and you still help me now.
Yes, those have listened.
You and Carolyn are a great team, and I laughed to tears many times about you too. I don't know if we'll ever get a chance to talk in person, and he means face to face, but yeah, I hope for that someday. Thanks again, Dean.
And Dean, thank you. And thank you for remembering. You're so sweet to do that. That's wonderful. Just a little backstory. I'm not going to go to the ins and outs of it. Dean, don't panic. But Dean's life was a bit of a mess, basically. And he was holding on to, I think it's fair to say, anger and resentments and all kinds of other things. He was holding on to those things, which were, in fact, destroying him and destroying any possibility of a good future. Now, how many people do that? So I've got an itchy nose. Does this mean I'm going to be vexed? I think, yeah.
Kiss a fool or have a fight is what I always grew up with.
What?
If you had an itchy nose, it meant you were either going to kiss a fool or have a fight.
I'm certainly not going to kiss a fool. It's like, that's all right. It must be have a fight then. Oh, well, right then. But most of us, many of us, at some point in our lives, I've certainly done it. Fortunately for me, only for a brief amount of time, but many people hold on to their hurts and their angers, and that builds into resentment, which builds into bitterness, which completely ruins any chance at all of a possible happy future, and any chance at all of you being able to look at another person, any other person, whether it's in a relationship, it doesn't matter what it is, but to be able to look at another person and to be able to trust that person, or to even, like that person. It's sort of bitterness really can change us. And so Dean was, when he came to sit, which we did I think it was on the phone actually, we did a telephone consult, which I used to do a lot of in those days. But you know, when he came to me and he mentioned the key word there, listen, those who listen. And he was one of those who listened, while his family in the spirit world, and I'm sure Grey Eagle had something to say about it as well, helped him to see the path that he was on, and helped him to see that what he was doing and the way that he was being and the way that he was thinking was going to be very destructive for him, and not just for him, but for his family, for his children, for, you know, for all of those people around him. And he listened. And I mean, I'm amazed, Dean, because it takes a great deal for someone to literally change their thought process like that. It takes a great deal of courage. It takes a great deal of honesty. And it shows the courage that you had. I'm sure you were trembling in your boots when you tried to correct the things that, you know, you wanted to correct, and when you tried to change and talk to the people who you'd perhaps not been so nice to because of the anger and the bitterness. But then you literally, I mean, I'm amazed. You are the one person who I can hold up for people to say, look, Dean can do it. You know, and you are, Dean, such a great example to everybody, for not only the reasons why someone might come to see someone like me, but also because you're that example of someone who really listened, who paid attention, but then who also took action to rectify what was going on in your life. And you benefited from it. I'm pretty sure that I can say that. If that's not true, you let me know. I know and if you have any other comments, we'd love to hear those. All right. So
he did say to tell you that he made that call. You were in Vermont.
All right. Well, there you are then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. Yeah, thank goodness other people remember, because I don't remember a thing. All right. So, you know, why are people inclined to talk to someone like me? Many people call because they've lost a loved one. Many people call because they just need to know, did that loved one survive? But there are also people who need to have simply help and guidance from their loved ones in the spirit world, from those people in the spirit world that they can trust, and that they can trust will, you know, give them the right information and guide them in the right way. And you know, that happens. And Carolyn, you see this happen all the time, don't you? I mean,
yes.
We do consults on Skype, we do consults on FaceTime, you know, we're actually sort of one-on-one. I can see the client, which is great, you know, all this fabulous technology that we use now. But we also have people who actually come to the house and come and see me, who want that, you know, that real personal one-on-one stuff. And Carolyn is sort of sitting in the background, getting water, getting tissues, doing all of those things, quietly doing her job in the background there. But you know, when people leave, it's, you know, she'll often say, wow, or she'll be blowing her nose because she's been crying because something was said that was so profound and so meaningful to a person, especially when we talk to kids who, you know, parents who come because they've lost their kids. And that's the one that gets to me more than anything else. All right, let's go then. I'm rambling away here. Let's has anybody complained yet about me rambling?
No.
Good. All right. Well, good then. Don't complain because I'm not in the mood. All right. Okay, let's have a question, shall we?
We have Tanya, and somebody else had actually also written in this question.
Is that our Tanya? Is that Tanya from?
No, she's a Tanya.
It's a new Tanya. Well, hello, new Tanya.
Yes.
Hi. All right, let's have the question.
She says, do you think major storms are a sign from God, as in the Bible, or more due to climate change?
I think it's all about the climate change. I mean, God is in everything. So, you know, let's be clear about that. God is, I believe that God is in everything, unless you want to shut him out, or her, or it, whatever, that God force. I should say that God force is within everything. So of course, you know, but we can shut him out, we can disregard, we can do any of those things. But as far as storms are concerned, you know, the Bible, and particularly the Old Testament, was it's a wonderful book, but we have to remember that that book was written for people who had no education whatsoever. It was written by those few people in those times, in those ancient times, however many centuries ago. It was written by people who were educated to try to educate those who had no education. And the only way that, you can, it's like teaching children. The best way to teach a child, I've always found, is to tell a story and make that story a really interesting story, and sort of thread the morals through the story, or thread the message, whatever message is that you're trying to convey, thread that message through the story. And the Bible is, the Old Testament particularly, but also the New Testament, but the Old Testament in particular, was designed by these people to try to help those uneducated, which was the majority of the country, to come to some understanding. So some of the stories were a little dramatic, and some of them, I think, have been misinterpreted along the way, as all stories are. And anyone putting their hand up saying that the Bible was never misinterpreted, or even for those people who are writing it and people who are reading it is never misinterpreted, is quite frankly balderdash, because everybody, I can write a story and one person can see something in it and another person can see something else completely in it. I can tell a story, I can expound, I can give a message. One person will read it as having it, understanding it this way, another person understands it this way. Neither are necessarily wrong, just different ways of thinking, different ways of absorbing, and different ways of viewing a situation. So, I think the storms are just storms, and I think that, we humans here on this planet are not careful enough about, of course we're affecting climate change. Of course we are. All the coal, all that stuff that's going out into the air, all the exhaust streams, all of those things affect climate change. Every single time we go out in the car, the gas is puthering out, it's having a little tiny little effect in our climate, and the way and the ways of the way that our climate's created is all about energy, pure energy. And is it going to stop me going in the car to get my groceries? No, because I need to do it. But is it going to make me more aware? I try to be very aware of the climate, and I try to do my little part in buying the right foods, using the right type of gas, etc., as much as I can do. And I think most of us try to do that. But do I think that it's a warning from God? No, I think it's a warning for us human beings. Pay attention, because this is what happens when you ignore what's going on with our climate, and when we just keep puthering all this stuff out into the cloud, should I say. All right, let's have our next question, can we?
Albertine and Jane and
Anita. Sorry, I just came far too close to everybody then, but I had to reach for a tissue. And I'm sorry, what? Go ahead.
Albertine, Jane, and June have all pretty much written recently and asked this question.
And a lot of others, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
What can the spirit world tell us about getting out of the past and trust that life is good?
Can you repeat that question for me? Sorry, what?
What can the spirit world tell us about getting out of the past and trust that life is good?
Well, we just talked about that, didn't we, with Dean? And the spirit world can tell us whatever it is that we need to hear in any given moment. But Greg is putting his hand on my shoulder, so I'll give you a little tidbit from him. And the little tidbit from him is smile, even though your heart is breaking. He mentions that our world needs gentleness, but more importantly than that, we need to give gentleness to ourselves first and foremost, and we need to nurture ourselves and love ourselves and learn to love ourselves, which so many of us don't do. And when you apply gentleness and loving, excuse me, and caring, with a smile, no matter what, with a smile, no matter if your heart is breaking. I know how difficult that is because I've done it myself. And sometimes, the smile is so fixed on your face, that it almost feels like your face is frozen with the effort of it. But still, if you can try to do that, then you'll find that the world will open up for you. It might be slow, but the world will open up for you. You'll meet people who are willing to work as you're working, people who are more a positive frame of mind, because, you know, remember, like attracts like. If you're a negative person, you're going to attract negative energy, whatever. And if you're a positive person, that's what you're going to attract. You're going to attract positive energy. I remember many years ago, years and years ago, when I was, you know, I had no money, I had a daughter, I had a philandering husband, and you know, I got rid of him. But I remember, you know, being in that place where every day, and I'm not exaggerating, every day, and sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, debt collectors would knock at the door. I would sit huddled in a corner with my daughter, who would be then 10 years old, and we'd be very quiet until the debt collectors went away. I mean, we struggled just as many people struggle. We struggled, and I struggled to smile, because the worst part of that was the effect that it had on my daughter, and I was helpless to do anything other than, and this is the positive part, I was helpless to do anything other than make sure that she was safe in her mind and in her heart. Physically, she was safe, but the only way I could do that was to keep that smile on my face, and to keep saying to her, it's going to be okay, don't worry, Mum's going to take care of you, it's going to be all right. And that was my mantra. That was my mantra for her. I will protect my child. Everything's going to be okay. And I can remember, and I worked at the time in a pub with a very lecherous landlord who was awful. So compounded, you know, he just compounded the whole situation. It was even worse because I had to work with him. But his wife, on the other hand, was lovely. She was great. And every day I'd go to the pub, and I worked lunchtimes and some evenings. And every day I would go to the pub and I would smile, and I would put that big smile on my face, and it wouldn't come off until I came home. And I remember one time coming home, Samantha wasn't yet home from school, and I was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, and I could not get this smile off of my face. It just was frozen onto my, just could not get it off. And the tears were streaming down my face, but the smile stayed, because I'd forced it there and put it on there for so long. It just was stuck there, and it took me ages and ages and ages. And I just sat crying and smiling at the same time. Very weird. All right. But then one day, several months past this point, one day I was driving in the car, and I was, you know, driving along, and the radio was on, and I don't know where I was going to. And all of a sudden it occurred to me that it sort of quite shocked me, actually. I was actually really smiling. It was a real smile. So all of this time, it wasn't that I was being a fake. It was that I was convincing myself and trying to let other people see. I didn't want anybody's pity. I didn't want anybody to think that I was, you know, a miserable person. Plus, when you're working in a pub behind the bar, you better smile, because that's your job. So I didn't want the pity that comes with people thinking that I would never let anyone know that I was destitute, ever. And, you know, guess that's pride. But then one day I found that I was smiling. Now, all right, have I smiled every day since? No, of course not. I've had my days and my miseries and my upsets. I've had my ups and downs like everybody else. But through it all, I absolutely refuse to let life push me down. And that's the message, and that's Grey Eagle's message to you guys. Just keep smiling. All right. Let's have our next question.
We have Lisa, who asked,
hello, Lisa.
I was wondering how one can tell who's sending messages from the spirit world. I've read they are from angels.
When you say messages, Lisa, I'm assuming that you're meaning, you know, something like if I use the word apport, an apport is a gift. An apport is a gift from the spirit world, or from our angels, or whoever. When people, you know, find feathers or pennies, or they find little somethings or another, or they see butterflies, or they see dragonflies, or whatever it is the symbol is for you that you see, that tells you that maybe your son is around or your daughter's there or what have you. Those things usually come from your loved ones in the spirit world. I'm not saying that angels never send us those things, because I'm sure that they do from time to time. But my experience, and you know, and I'm not all knowing and all seeing. So if somebody else wants to think that angels are sending them, see, I think my loved ones in the spirit world, I think they're angels because they love me. They're not God's messengers necessarily, but they are my angels who help and guide me. My father is an angel to me because he's always by my side whenever I need him. That doesn't mean he's not busy elsewhere and he's not here 24/7, but whenever I need him, or occasionally he'll come visit me because he just wants to be with me or connect with me. And you know, he's been gone 30, almost 40 years, but he's still around me when I need him. I hope he's busy doing whatever he loves to do, and wherever he is, I hope he's having a great time. I hope he's still a soldier in his own way, because my father will always be a soldier to me. But will he send me things from time to time? Yes, but usually my father sends me dreams. And in those dreams, there are some wonderful, wonderful messages. Sometimes somebody in the spirit world, they will ask, I know this is an odd thing. Now, the Native Americans believe this, and I believe this too. I've seen it happen. Those in the spirit world will whisper in the ear of a butterfly, or they'll whisper in the ear of as the Native Americans call them, tiny winged creatures. And they'll whisper in the ear of those tiny winged creatures and ask them to, you know, please will you go visit this person or this person. So the butterfly is not necessarily your son. It's not necessarily, we're going to get a banging on the door in a minute. Probably the postman's hopefully going to just drop that parcel off. I know exactly what it is. No, he's gone. We can see the postman right out the window there. All right, so you know, the spirit world will ask those tiny winged creatures to maybe come and send us a message, you know, that our loved ones are close by us. So whenever you pick up a penny or a feather or whatever I do, I always thank Grey Eagle for mine, because he'll sometimes, if I'm really in need of something, just some encouragement, or just if I just need a little bit of reassurance, because yes, I too need reassurance from time to time that I'm not forgotten, that those in the spirit world are with me, because all of us have our doubts, and all of us have our insecurities. So, you know, whenever I receive a gift like that, I always smile and say thank you. My biggest gift, one of my biggest gifts, is the birds, the big birds that sometimes sit outside my window. And in fact, last week, while I was still in New York and the storm was raging around, and Mary Lou had to move out of her house, and she sent me a picture of this beautiful hawk, huge hawk, that was just sitting in the tree looking at her. And she said, was this supposed to mean something to me? And I said, I think that was Grey Eagle. No, it wasn't the hawk, but hawks, eagles, all of those beautiful things are very significant. And I said, I think he was trying to send you a message not to worry, don't worry, everything's going to be all okay, which in fact it was. So I've rambled on enough about that. Right, next question. Do we have any other questions? Or are we going to quit?
Well, no, we're good. I did want to mention that we have Julia from Cocoa, Florida. I had asked her how.
Cocoa Beach?
Yes.
Hello, Julia.
But I don't think there's just a Cocoa.
Oh, right.
So I was asking her.
Hello, Julia.
Yeah, how they fared during the storm.
Okay.
She said, our area took a hit. We were on the nasty eastern side, tornadoes, but all are strong and pulling together to help each other. It's a beautiful thing to see. Personally, they had no damage, but the community is coming together to help everyone.
Yeah. And, you know, that's I always try to say to people, no matter what your pain, no matter what you're suffering, no matter what your heartache is, if you can sort of, and sometimes we have to really fight to do this within ourselves. We have to fight to look and to find the positive. Because, believe it or not, there is always no matter what, no matter how dire a situation is, there is always somewhere, if you search for it, a positive. And you know, those positives are the things that help us to get through the situations that we're going through. Those little positives are those things that just can help to give us strength. So Julie, I'm great you're safe, and I'm happy that you didn't suffer, and thank you very much. I'm sure you're helping. I'm sure you're part of that community and helping as much as you can in whatever way you can. And again, if I can just put it out there to people, all right, if you, you know, I mean, you don't even have to have been in Florida, but, you know, if you are a person who wants to help, there are call centers, there are places you can go. My favorite place to go whenever there is a trauma or trouble of any description, no matter what, my very, very favorite place to go is the Sally Army, because I love the Salvation Army. I've always loved the Salvation Army. They're a great group of people. They, you know, they do it for the love of it. They do it for the love of God. You can, you know, they deal with any race, any creed. You don't have to have their religion. You don't even have to believe in Christ or anything. Their faith is for all of us to lean on when we can. So if you want to help, you know, one of the best places in every town and city, there's a Salvation Army somewhere, all over the world, believe it or not. When I was a kid, there was we called it the Sally Army. The Sally Army Hall was, you know, down the street from where I lived, and every Saturday morning, all the kids would pile there and we'd have a sing-song. And, you know, then nobody from the Salvation Army was trying to, you know, recruit us or want us for themselves. It was just, here's the hall, let's get all these kids together who otherwise would be on the street bored, and they'd just have this massive sing-song. And we'd sing, I am H-A-P-P-Y, you know that one, right? I am H-A-P-P, and we'd be clapping and singing, and they'd have all these fabulous songs, all these positive, fabulous songs that they got all of us kids to sing. And I've been a fan of the Sally Army ever since then. There are, of course, other organizations about, so you know, if you do want to help, or if you do feel, because there are still, for instance, Carolyn does not have power. She's still not in her own house yet. She was very fortunate to find someone who gave her a house to live in, you know, through all of this. So there are people out there who are still suffering. They have no clothes, they have no food, they have no water, they have no power. So if you are a person inclined to help, but you're sitting there thinking, well, what can I do? Pick up the phone, call your nearest Sally Army, even if you're not in America, because, you know, someone somewhere will be able to say to you, well, you know, you can help in this way, or if it's simply to send a prayer every day and just send your thoughts and your healing prayers to those people who are suffering, because we all need to join together and try to help in this disaster. Texas, I mean, Texas had this awful, the flooding and all the rest of it before this. They are still suffering, and there are certain parts of Texas who are still suffering and in need. So please, you know, if you want to do something, you know, pick up the phone or go on your computer and go and, you know, where can I help? I mean, I have this little thing. I say, hey Siri, find me the phone number of the Sally Army, and it does it for me. I don't even have to find my glasses and search it out anymore. Makes us extremely lazy, doesn't it? But what I'm saying is, you know, you don't have to sit there. You're not helpless. If you want to help other people, please, you know, just reach out for your computer. How about that? Which is probably on your lap because you're watching me. Mm-hmm. So there you are. There you have it. Let's have our next question.
Julia asks, do the displaced animals from storms have angels guiding them?
Yes, without a doubt, but I'm checking with Greg here. I actually know a family who they were evacuated, emergency evacuation. They were stuck, and they were evacuated, but they had to leave their animals behind. And nobody knows if those animals still right now, nobody knows if those animals survived or if they drowned or whatever happened to them. But there are lots of animal shelters out there. I know there are vets who go out and offer their services, go out to different places. But yes, I mean, look, death is not the end. Death is the beginning. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate, and our hearts go out to all of those who have lost their loved ones, including their pets, of course. But, you know, there is a heaven and, you know, where we can all go to. There's a song in there somewhere. I'm just about to burst into song here, or into tears, one way or another. There are, you know, there is a heaven, there is a God, and there are angels. And it may not seem to those of you who have suffered that you've lost someone. You wonder, did God forsake you? But I can assure you, no, he did not. None of us go before our time, which includes our animals. And so God has this plan, and sometimes it's very hard for us. It's really tough for us to see this plan. It's really hard for us to understand the plan in any way, shape or form. But there is a plan, and we are part of that plan. And I will say to those of you who are suffering and who have lost someone, hold on to your faith. Hold on to your faith. All right. Do we have any other questions, Carolyn?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay, then.
We have, well, Dean broke out in song for you. He
What
says, smile though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by, Nat King Cole.
Smile though your heart is breaking. That one, right?
Yeah.
Smile, da da dee da da da. Yeah, I know that one very much. Actually, that was not the song I was going to break into. I don't know if you know Chris Rea, Dean. You should check out Chris Rea. Chris Rea. One of these days, I'm going to play this all the way through for all of you, because it is, for me, if I had to think of a song, it is the most moving, heart-catching, heart-rending, but beautiful song with a fabulous message, and it's by Chris Rea. You spell it R-E-A, his surname, not R-H-E-A, like the bird, but R-E-A. And it's Tell Me There's a Heaven. And tell me there's a heaven, tell me that it's true. Tell me there's a reason why I'm seeing what I do, and so on and so forth. It's a beautiful song. I'm done singing now. Anyway, let's go back to the question.
All right.
I'm going to put you all off with my singing in a minute, because I don't know what's going on with the throat there. But anyway.
Sabrina asks.
Hello, Sabrina.
We can no more be separated from God than a ray of light can be separated from the sun.
I agree.
Including his precious creatures.
Got it.
God is love. Can we ask God to be more?
Can we ask? I'm checking with Gregor here. That's a great question there, Sabrina. Can we ask? I think the more we let God in, the more God is. That's what I think. So when we let him into our hearts, and the more we connect with him, and the more and I say him, and remember, him, her, that God force, that God energy, which permeates this entire planet of ours and the entire universe, in my opinion, and the many universes that are out there. I think when we acknowledge that there is this incredible force, this God force out there, I think that it becomes more, and it becomes more within us. And I think it touches the hearts and minds of those who we love more. So in that way, that's my take on it. Greg is agreeing with me. So that's the more. That's the more.
All right.
And also, sorry, but I do have to tell you, and I've said this before many, many years ago, years and years ago, because I'm such an old lady now. Many years ago, there was a healer man a fabulous guy, who actually taught me this one rule. He said, Rosemary, always ask for miracles. If you don't ask, you might not get them. But let me do it this way. If you don't ask, you won't get. But if you ask, you might not get them, but you just might. So never be afraid, he taught me, never be afraid to ask for a miracle. Right. Yeah.
Lisa asks, when we're sad and crying about our loved ones in the spirit world, do they feel our pain?
Oh, sure. Without a doubt. And do you know how many times, Lisa, I've heard someone in the spirit world will say, if they keep crying, it's so hard for us. We want them to smile because, remember what I just said, death is not the end, death is the beginning. It's a continuation of the journey that we're on, a spiritual journey. And, when we're crying, we're actually crying because of the loss that we have, because our life feels emptier without them. But there is no need to cry for them because they are fine. Just watching us crying, though, can upset them, especially if we overdo it, and especially if we really, some of those little fire signs out there, particularly, we can indulge in the tears and all the rest of it. So, and that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for our loved ones in the spirit world. And it's not a good thing for them to be around because they have to struggle for us as well as deal with what's going on with themselves.
Okay. Well, let's see. Sabrina says that was a quote, not a question. And her real question is, how can I see spirits wide awake?
I'm assuming she means how can she,
Yes,
being awake, not see people in the spirit
says
world
yes.
who are awake. Right?
No, she says she is a medium and she would like to learn how to see the spirits better while she's wide awake.
This is a tough question for me to answer because, first of all, I don't know how sensitive you are. I suspect very. But when I'm talking about being sensitive, I'm talking about how sensitive you are to those in the spirit world. We can, all of us, make ourselves much more aware. So let's go with it that way, darling. We can make ourselves much more aware and much more consciously aware rather than subconsciously or unconsciously in our sleep state. We can make ourselves more consciously aware. What we have to do is we have to, sort of pay attention to our meditation, to pay attention to listening, to, I'm going to be doing some classes which are going to teach us, and I know I keep saying this, but we are working on it. And in fact, I think we have 13 more subscribers to go. In other words, we need 13 more subscribers in order for us to be able to do classes, in fact, with YouTube, because YouTube will only allow certain people to do certain things at certain times on YouTube. But it's possible that we'll be doing these classes on YouTube or Meetup or that sort of thing. Well, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, and one of the things I'm going to be teaching, is that the fact that we have 6 senses. We have the 5 regular senses, sight, hearing, taste, touch, and something else, whatever the 5th one is. But anyway, we have 5 natural, normal, physical, most of us. And for those of us who, for instance, don't have sight, your hearing will become more acute. When we lose one of our senses, another sense will become more acute. But there are ways and exercises that we can do to make our 5 senses, because our 5 common senses are very important, because when those 5 common senses kick in, our 6th sense will automatically, our level of consciousness will raise to the point where our 6th sense will automatically kick in. If you're not proficient in your 5 common senses, it's impossible really to be proficient, really well proficient in that 6th sense. In order to sort of have the most powerful connection you can possibly have, we need all of our senses in tune at the same time.
Kay said to tell you the 5th is smell.
Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Sorry. We have these, I think they call them senior moments. We have these little blockages in our minds, don't we? I've been having senior moments since I was in my 20s. Anyway, all right. So what's the next? And hi to Kay. Hi, darling. Good for you. What you did. Fantastic. Amazing. Brilliant. Mama Bear. This is my friend Kay in England. Yeah.
We've got a kitty who, she's from Netherlands.
A who?
Her name is Kitty. Kitty, Kitty.
Oh, Kitty.
Kitty.
I thought she said kiddie. And in England, a kiddie is a little child.
Oh.
Just so you know.
She's from the
See,
Netherlands.
you've been waiting for me to say that, haven't you? Just so you know. Right. All right.
This is the first time I've seen you live, and my experience has just been that I cried for 15 minutes. Very soft, deep, and totally unexpected. I looked at you, and it happened.
Oh, darling Kitty. Oh, is that a good thing? Look, now you're making me cry. Was that a good thing, sweetheart? I mean, does it help you? Is it? Oh, geez. Is it helping you? Is it relieving you in some way? You have to write and tell us. Email us, all right? Write and tell us all about you. Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, Julia asks.
That was a. Oh, see, look, you set me off, Kitty. Yes, Julia asks what?
My mother-in-law passed away in our house 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A medium told me her energy is still hanging here because she was happiest here, and I don't want that.
Fiddlesticks. Who
How
told
do I
you that?
get her to move on?
Julia, it's fiddlesticks. Don't listen, darling. I'm actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry, I'm eating ice here. I shouldn't say that because this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to ask Gregor, is your mother-in-law still around your house? And he says she does visit from time to time, but her energy is not there. Don't worry about it. You don't, you know, you're good, honey. And so really, you know, be careful. Be careful. We know that there are people who are extremely well-meaning, who have a little bit of knowledge, and in order to make themselves, and they sometimes do this on a subconscious level, but sometimes they know what they're doing. So we have to just be cautious. But very often on a subconscious level, they'll say something like that to make themselves sound better, make themselves sound, you know, as if they know what they're doing. In my opinion, this person, whoever she was, does not know what she's doing. So fiddlesticks again to that. Your mother-in-law, was it? Mother-in-law?
Yeah, and she says she was mean. I'm assuming she's meaning her mother-in-law was mean.
No, I got that. Don't worry. When you said I don't want to hear, we got that. No, she's not in your house. She does come to visit from time to time. I think you might find, I'm checking with Gregor again, I think you might find that this poor lady, your mother-in-law, had some tough stuff going on in her life. And again, we come right back to the beginning of this show when we talked about holding on to anger. We talk about Dean. Holding on to anger makes us bitter, and it makes us angry in ourselves. And this, I think, is probably what happened to your mother-in-law. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I'm going to ask for healing. Gregor's stroking my face as I'm talking to you here, so he likes this part very much, because I'm going to ask if, you know, your mother-in-law could have a little healing in the spirit world, because I think somewhere along the line someone broke her heart, and I think, you know, then you hold on to the hurt and the anger and all the other stuff, and then you become mean and bitter, and then you start ending up breaking other people's hearts, which is not nice and it's not good, but it's a very human thing. So, you know, try not to hold on to the fact that she was a mean person, sweetheart, and try to send out your healing prayers. Can you do that? Will you do that for me? You know, hope that wherever she is, that she's getting exactly what it is that she needs to make her whole and well again, and to make her smile again. All right? All right.
One final question.
Yes.
From Beth. She said, why is it...
A final question. Is it that time already?
Wrapping it up, yep.
Wrapping it up, she says, wrapping it up. See, you think, you're all listening, you see. You think that I'm in control of all this. I have no control whatsoever. Any minute now, if she felt inclined, my assistant could lean over me and click that red button, which switches me off, I might fight her for it, but still. All right, so let's have this next question. It might not be the final question, just to show you that I'm in control.
Okay,
That's very funny as well, right? Go ahead.
We have to. Katie is asking.
See, it wasn't the final question. See,
no. Right. Talking about hanging on to stuff. Yeah. I woke up hearing my dad, Ken, telling me to let it go. Can I ask you, was this right?
Yes, without a doubt, and you should know better. Kay is one of my students, a fabulous healer. If you're in England and you need a healer, Kay is the person to go and see. I trained her myself. She is probably, I always tell people, she's the worst student I ever had and the very best. She's a little fire sign and I love her to pieces. And yes, darling, you've got to let it go now. And we all know what he's talking about, right?
She says I know.
All right.
All right, Beth, real quick, last question.
Oh, well, that's what you said the last time, but go ahead.
Why is it that spirit calls out my name late at night? Ooh. I can hear them. They call 3 times.
Oh. There is this belief, I'm one of those who does believe it, that when you hear the spirit world call out your name, that it's the highest accolade. So Beth, it is someone out there who loves you to pieces and who is trying to get you to notice them. You say thank you, even if you don't know who it is, it doesn't matter, but someone out there loves you and is trying to say to you that you're not alone, and they're making it as clear as they possibly can. It's one of the highest accolades, darling. How lucky, very, very, very lucky you are. All right, are we done? We're done. All right, so if you need any more information from us, wait, I have to say, could you just get everybody you know to subscribe. We are actually getting ready for our Christmas competition. I know it's not Christmas yet, but as soon as my sister comes, I'm making my Christmas cake I've got one Christmas cake, which survived the freezer, by the way, which I'm actually going to decorate it in a beach scene for my sister's birthday. It's her 70th birthday, which is why she's coming over to see me. All right, and so if you're really lucky, I'll show it to you when it's done.
You want to tell them when her birthday is?
Sure, Thanksgiving,
yes.
23rd. It's the 23rd of November. I know she's coming on Friday, she'll still be here then. No, I love her to pieces. She's great.
All right. Kay's telling you thank you for my backhanded compliment.
Oh, she's welcome. And anyway, so if you need us, who's this?
I just, a little about Rosemary. We stopped doing the what are Rosemary's favorite things. And I've been looking at that picture.
The light is shining on it. See that? This is me when I was younger. You can still see the smile. All right. And that's my darling baby girl who is now 46 years old. And somewhere there's one of my grandson. My daughter's asked me to stop putting him on Instagram and stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm on Instagram now. I haven't got the hang of it yet, but thank you for that. Haven't got the hang of it yet, but getting there slowly. All right, if you need to contact us, if you need to know any more, if you need healing, if you have someone who could use your healing prayers, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. If you want to contact us any other way, we are on Meetup, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, barely, and I'm struggling with it, but anyway, doing my best. And if you need to know any more, again, email us. Please subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing. Just click that little button down below, wherever it is on your screen, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting there, people. We're getting there. This is great. All right. And in the meantime, until next week, and we hopefully will be here next week. In the meantime, have a very, 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 very blessed day.